Testing on yeah, I have audio. Well, it's not easy, is it? No music though, because I lost my history again for some reason. It's kind of weird though. I mean, should have a history in here. Why is it not? There's no history. History changed. So. Empty. What the? Don't like that at all. Yeah. Bilbo, hello. And Buzz Bunny. Yeah, well, so problem was that after a reboot I lost everything. That seems strange after I upgraded my operating system, but you see, now it is compiling. So no work to do was not correct. Okay, to recap, my current problem is that if I have one pipeline factory, everything works, and if I have two pipeline factories, something goes wrong, and the something has been traced down to being the instance buffer, which is actually just existing of two vectors of 4 floats. And then I looked at it today with the render doc, and it turns out that the so-called corrupted instance vertex buffer is equivalent to the vertex instance vertex buffer. No idea why. So currently I'm having 2 pipelines, so it should go wrong, so we run it. Well, or sometimes it goes right. And sometimes it goes wrong. And then if it goes wrong, the problem is, I'll just show it again. So I run q render doc. Sorry for the small font. I don't think I can change that. No. I'm having beeps in my audio again. That's not good. That is not good. 4 milliseconds is a little bit, yeah, not much, of course, but if I do this, I cannot listen to myself anymore, because then it is... Does it help? Not convinced. It's 64 milliseconds delay. That's really... Yeah, well... It's a high priority, not bad. Do I not need a negative priority? Yeah. I'll Testing 1, 2. I'm hearing a rattle. I thought this was my monitor, but it's probably not. Maybe that, yeah. Oopsie. Is it better like this? Okay, do you have audio now? Voice, and if so, I hope there's no rattle in it like I heard. Everything is suddenly breaking down, why? Yeah, I've been talking all this time, so thank you for telling me that there's no audio. Just muted the wrong button. Yeah, well, that's incredibly annoying that there's a rattle. Yes, what? There's a 10-minute delay as usual. Testing 1, 2. Totally. Well, I don't know. I already rebooted and everything, and suddenly things don't work anymore. Why? I can try it again. I mean, I can try again to restart this thing that worked, used to work before, but testing 1, 2. Please let there be no rattle, but I think I heard already a little bit something in the background, or not. Well, maybe it's better. I think it's better. No, because if I do that, then I can reboot again, probably. Seems to be solved now. Maybe it will go wrong again if I start render doc again. Turn my own music a little down. Okay. Well, testing. I'm still turning off my own voice so I cannot hear myself. So if things go really weird now, you have to warn me, because I cannot hear myself. Okay, well, I did recompile. Yeah, no, it works now, but then when I start to render doc again, it probably, or it might go wrong again. Let's hope not, but you never know. Let me think. What was the last change that I made? Oh, that, yeah. 4 of them. So if I run it now, let's run it in debugger. Logic error. Definitely did not work. It's not even a validation error. Buffer's size is unequal offsets. So, oh. Okay. That's beyond validation. Or rather, before the validation layer is even reached. Compile, run. Well, that's amazing. You can bind 4 buffers without getting a validation error. And I hope that now I can actually see the contents of all 4 then, when I run renderdoc. Launch application, load last settings, launch it, and it fails, stop it. And it doesn't pick it up. I didn't capture anything. Oh, that was smart. I'm actually going to restart it from here. I have to press F12 to capture a frame. No, bloody thing is working. I'm just going to try to launch it again, I guess. And again, it works. Yep, failure. Press F12, captured frame 151. Did it or did it not capture something? I think it did. Bind vertex buffers. Yep, now we have 4 of them. This one is size is 3072, and the next one is also, well, that's the reason why it goes wrong. And then if these 2 are both size 64, yes, and now there's one, if you want it. Aha! Aha! Okay. Now we're on to something. So it seems that the index is depending on who is first. So if I do only one factory, I get at 0, I get the size of 3072. And then the next one is the index buffer of size 64. But if I do both at the same time, then index 0 is used by the first factory for the vertex buffer, and then the index 1 is being used for the other factory. Yeah, 3072 is 192 times 16. Vec 4 times 192. And 192 comes, I bet, from triangles. So you have to divide by 2 again, and probably take the square root. Let me try. Divided by 2. 96. So it doesn't look like a square. No. Okay, I lost it. I don't know. But you can see that, you know, it's 0 till 191, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 float values. Well, it doesn't look like a float here, but 16 bytes, 16 times 192. I'm sure there's a logical reason for the 192 as well. I think we solved the problem. So let me quit again. Let me think. The problem is the index. Yeah, now I see the light. I'm an idiot. Okay. Yeah, yep, I get it. Now let's first fix it. Grab project sources for vertex buffers. Isn't it called like that? And the vertex buffers is thread safe. That's why it is mutable, so it can even be changed in a const function. It's not really constant, but thread safe const. Thread safe because it is wrapped together with the mutex that must be locked in order to access it. In this case, I'm using an AI write spin lock as mutex. I'm not sure anymore why, but okay. And then when it is locked, I add a buffer handle to the vector. And the index of this vector is first come, first served. So it's just a race condition on this mutex. Whoever locks the mutex first gets the next index. Did Omnic leave? No. What happened? Deep Haria never said anything, I think. Oh yeah. He's making vulkan support for Linux. No, I'm not. I'm confused. Yeah, Mark Post, I told you before, I do not appreciate pasting like that from ChatGPT or whatever. Yeah, you were just in time with an oh sorry. But I clicked on something horrible. Let me see. Yeah, I could unhide you. Omnic, yeah, nothing. No, when I did unban you, whatever it was, I had to go through some mysterious menu. But now I clicked on the three dots and it was there. So I don't know. I did, however, show ChatGPT chat that I had on Discord. Basically to prove how stupid it is. So if you are on my Discord, then you can have a look at it and then conclude how stupid ChatGPT is. It's really well, just a glorified chatbot combined with Google, and it has no clue what it's talking about. It's almost every question I ask it gives me nonsense. Okay, so here's the solution. We do a push back after taking a right lock. And yeah, what it's just the index you get depends on which other threads do this at the same time. Now, now we found a problem, but now I have to find a solution, which is not trivial, it seems. For example, this particular test application has, at the moment, 2 pipeline factories, but the pipelines that each factory produces uses the exact same vertices, even the same instance buffer. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to call this function twice. But that is a coincidence, I guess. I mean, it could need to call it twice. But we can, I think, bring this back to whatever the user defines to yeah, I'm not sure here though. So I have these two things, a square and the top bottom positions, and those are the objects that generate the contents of the vertex buffers. Now the way these things work is that they are derived from well, this one is derived from vertex shader input set, which is derived from vertex shader input set base, which is derived from data feeder, which is then the interface that is being used to fill the vertex buffer with. In other words, if this object does not know anything than itself, and it doesn't, because we're not passing any pointers to it, we're not passing anything to it, and it's not accessing any singletons either. It's not accessing the application or anything. For example, well, the data feeder is even just abstract, I think, just pure virtual functions. This input set base only has an input rate, which is const. Might as well make it const, I think. Would be pretty weird if it changed. Let me try making it const. Try as in try to compile it. Yeah. Or you can vote between choices, but none of the choices that you pick make a difference. It's one of the big tricks, I think. We're going to paint all your houses in this neighborhood. You know, we paint them white or we paint them blue. But the neighborhood itself can choose. So let's have a vote. Closed, of course. So everyone votes blue. And then they say, yeah, the majority voted white, so we're going to paint everything white. And then everyone thinks, oh, damn, well, it was democratic. In most cases, they don't even vote, though. They say, you know, we that and that date and that time we hold a meeting, and then you can come with concerns and questions. And then later it's executed, and if then you complain, they say, yeah, well, we had a meeting, you had the opportunity to come and complain. Now it's too late. Nah, they will just disconnect me from the internet, I think. We'll see. I'll have a dish in no time and then connect to Elon Musk's satellite. What did I change? Horrible. It compiled. That was the trick. Okay. So this can be a const. And then, yeah, what was derived from... So vertex shader input set is a template and it adds nothing. Just the type. So we have a reinterpret cast here. A default, this one also. No extra internal state. And this one there's also no state. Now I don't know if in general that is the case though. But certainly in this case, even the type alone is already enough to know that the data that it's going to produce or will produce every time again. And I suspect that that is true in general as long as we have no internal state. And this one only has a default constructor, constructor with no arguments, so it has no internal state. The base class certainly don't. Probably will never. So I would say that we only want to have one vertex buffer per type here, in this case. But then, yeah, maybe somewhere in the future I might make one of these things that does have internal state, and I pass that to the constructor. And then one pipeline factory uses a different internal state, and then it's no longer depending on just the type, but also on the value that you pass to the constructor. In other words, it's depending on the instance. And since that is definitely a future possibility, I would rather say I should only create a single instance in the case that only the type defines it. So now I make an instance here, well, two instances, but there's two types. I make an instance here inside vertex pipeline characteristic range. On second thought, that doesn't feel entirely correctly then, because well, this class is part of every factory that is using that characteristic. In this case, I have two factories that are using the same characteristic, and then bang, two instances of square. That's already wrong. I mean, even if I get the indices right, I don't want to upload two vertex buffers that have the exact same content. That would be silly. So it feels more like these things, these two really should be members of my window class. So I'm going to delete them here, I think, simply because otherwise I get two instances of them. I don't want that. Now let's see where to put them. What is this? It's a base pipeline characteristic. Here we have a sheet of templates, all kinds of functions. Okay. I guess I just put them with the other class member variables. Here we are, member variables. An array, vertex buffers. Hey, it talks about vertex buffers. Let's put them there. I won't call them pipeline objects anymore though, then. It's more like vertex buffer generators. I think it's literally called instance buffer. And the other one then called vertex buffer. Although they're called vertex buffer both by Vulkan. But, well, within a certain context, I guess it's clear enough. But of course now, if I use these things, or I use them here, then we don't have access anymore. Okay, I can, however, do window at first sight, especially if you compare it with this. Although this is a function, because yeah, these things are private. I don't think I can access them like that. I need, yeah, they are private, right? Yeah, totally private, of course. Starting to doubt that this is really part of the pipeline now. From where I stand, the only thing that it is doing is uploading or creating a vertex buffer. And uploading data to it. What does it have to do with the pipeline? Well, they are. Apparently, in the end, it ends up in this thing, which is added to the pipeline create info, which is used to create a pipeline. So the pipeline, each pipeline that is created, we do create pipeline here, passing the pipeline create info, which is this structure here, which has a p vertex input state, which points to this struct, and that has knowledge of vertex binding descriptions, vertex input binding description, which I think it was that I was looking at. Yep. So the creation of the pipeline uses whatever this is returning, the get vertex input binding descriptions from the flat create info. Which merges this list. Which contains stuff that was passed to add. Which is a result of calling pipeline carries no content. It just knows about the format of everything. To the types, say. The structures that that make it up, that are the data that is needed. Or I don't know how to say it. Descriptions. So this adds vectors of that. So where is that being used? Cannot find it back. I think here, right? The add vertex shader base class is passing this to, yeah, it's adding it to the flat create info. And then that is used to create a pipeline. So and the contents are created here from vertex shader input sets. Which is created here, and as soon as I add something, then change the set, so then we update in the other one as well. That was generated from this. And this thing is filled with stuff that you pass to the add vertex input binding. Yeah, so it is directly coupled to the pipeline layout or whatever. If I would not call this function at that point, then this vector will not contain data that is used to create a pipeline. So then something goes wrong. So I have to call this function for every pipeline. That is, pipeline factory creating a pipeline needs to have a characteristic that calls this function. However, that only refers to the data that we extracted right there, right? And the things that the objects that I'm passing can do more. They can even generate the data. So I'm going to look again at what exactly now is being extracted from it. Chunk size and input rate. So the input rate I made const. The chunk size is used. And binding, whatever that is. Oh, the binding is just picked randomly here as the order in which we add stuff that's not really important, probably. But actually, maybe this binding is what I need to know in order to bind them. Yeah. I think this binding stands for that index. Shell input set. It's just a chunk size and the input rate. Chunk size really must be a constant. I have the feeling. And it is, because it is the size of entry. This is totally a constant, obviously. Plus, this is a final override, so the user cannot even change it anymore. This is part of the of my Vulkan engine, and that sets this chunk size in stone, depending on the, well, basically the type, but I don't like having my chunk size here actually now as a virtual function. Or is that silly? Okay, for the data feeder, maybe it's not a constant, but vertex shader input set base it should already be. So what I probably should do is delete it here even. Think, well, yeah, dubious. I mean, I can pass the size of entry to the base class as an argument and then store it there as a const member variable, but I would grow it in size. Well, that's not necessary. I might as well do it like this. Nevertheless, chunk size depends on the size of entry, and the input rate is pretty damn constant and depends on well, also on the type. Yeah, so I would say that it is the pipeline only depends on the type. The creation of the pipeline depends only on the type. And then later on I could bind different vertex buffers if I wanted to. What is wisdom here? Yeah, it seems to be half, right? I mean, if I'm doing this for the pipeline, I define the pipeline, so yeah. And the instance is really not important. It's just a type that is important. So I am inclined to not even instantiate it at all. Well, I do need instantiations later on. So I'll instantiate them here, but I'm not using it. Not for the pipeline. I'm going to just pass the type, because that should be enough. However, I mean, as in like this, just pass it as a template argument and then just a type. However, I say that is a problem because I cannot really extract, I think, everything from that type, or can I? I need to extract the rate and the chunk size. So we want to do that, then I have to make those a part of the type, which makes also sense, more or less. For example, if you look at the top bottom positions, it is part of the type. It's passed as a template parameter. Okay, and what is my entry here? No, wait, yeah, I'm passing instance data as a template parameter, and that is entry. So the size of instance data is my chunk size. And instance data is declared, or no, has a layout declaration. What is layout declaration again? But anyway, this defines here that it is instance data. Let's see rate. So if I have this type, I can get from the static const expression here the input rate. I need this type, and that type is being passed here as a second argument to this macro. It would be nice if we did jump to the definition. Standard. Well, that's a type as well. I can access that type by accessing this specialization, I guess. Oh, there's a little specialization. Now, this defines a template specialization, where the GLS LID standard then is the standard that we pass. So I think it's completely determined. The data that I need is determined by the type alone. So why not just pass the type? So we have square and that. Nope. I might change it back later, but for now I'm passing just a type. Do you think types are necessary in this kind of development? Well, I don't think that C++ works without types, so yes. So already extracts it here that it must be vertex data or per vertex data or per instance data embedded in something. But yeah, this is no longer working. So I no longer have this vertex shader input set. Which we push back here. It's a big change. So probably should first commit what I have now. Let me do that. Sorry, but I'll keep that. Validation here, log window diff, is that the one? Okay, so patch p1 minus r. This is detector diff. Yes. My God. Well, that's not bad. I don't care about these failures. Window.h reject. No, not sure why that failed, but it is definitely annoying. There are loads more that is annoying. I think I pretty much fucked up now. I mean, I removed this patch, but adding it back is going to be difficult. I should have made a copy of my source code first before applying this patch. And I'm afraid if I apply it again, but without the -r, that we also get nonsense. Not sure what to do now. New usage detector. Maybe I don't need a user detector anymore. Could just forget about it. This looks like more errors than I saw in my diff, so I don't know what's happening. Or errors. More places where this didn't work. I need to delete all those arguments here as well. Yeah, maybe that was indeed all in that file. So nothing left. Let's see if it compiles. I add No matching function for call to. Jordan. I like Jordan Peterson. He just says what he thinks, and that's a good thing. I don't see the link though. Yeah, unfortunately I want to run it to just see if something horrible broke. On the other hand, I probably can see that in the diff. So let's do get diff. Yeah, it's not too much. Prepared is commented out here. What was that about? The life of me cannot remember. I think I removed all and prepared completely. Didn't I? Not apparently not. What the heck? Okay, it's set now here. So it still exists, but it's it should actually be removed and instead of commented out. I don't think I can do that. Like remove it and then update this hunk, right? So just do quit, I guess. Edit it. Oops, delete it. And then do no for almost everything until I run into that same file again, which I've got the name of course. Yeah, there, this one. So when this is a yes then. Yeah, it's not really necessary. Really? No, 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 no. No. Hmm. Right. Okay, Omnic. Good work. Good to do your chores. And I have to go to bed almost. Well, like 1.5 hours ago. I think that real insanity is defined by not. Well. Yeah, well, it's how to say that. Losing contact, whatever the word is, with reality. Although also that is objective. For example, my mother with Alzheimer at some point started to think that people were after her, as in paranoia. And I didn't see that really as insanity because, although it was not true, because it's a logical thing of the mind to try to fill in the gaps, as it were. So because she lost her memory, she didn't know that she was living there. She was in a strange house, and strange people would enter. It's just the people that helped her, that worked there. And she was thinking that they are, neighbors or strangers. And my dad was acting very weird in her eyes, because when she said, come on, we have to go home, I want to go home because I still have to cook dinner. Now my dad would say, you are home, and which was a clear lie, because she looked around her and she was not home. And then, paranoia set in at some point. She was thinking that people were conspiring against her. But are you then really losing touch with reality, or are you just trying to cope with the fact that your memory doesn't work anymore? I think the brain is a very interesting thing. I had a friend at some point who was psychotic. He was hearing voices. He was absolutely convinced that a whole group of people, I think at some point he said it, that was like 36 people involved. And they worked around the clock just to make sure that he did not get any sleep. So whenever he was in bed, he was hearing noises. Often they came from the floor. And he told me that his downstairs neighbors had mounted loudspeakers to the ceiling just to annoy him. And I said, well, then why don't you ring his doorbell and go look or something? So, yeah, but if I do that, he quickly takes them down. The mind is a fascinating thing. There really is a level where you are no longer able to filter or to reason about, which is the case in the case of a psychotic people. They are convinced of certain things, usually to make sense of something or to explain it, but the level at the place where that manifests itself in the brain is something that is not debatable. It's not possible for them to see that it is wrong. It's at a level in the brain where it's just the truth. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's pretty fascinating that point exists. So it doesn't matter how stupid it is. It doesn't matter if I would come with reasoning. I knew that, so I didn't do that. But if you come with all kinds of reasonings, and you say, well, argument, you say this or that, but it cannot be true because, and you completely prove that what he believes is true is not possible, then his mind will just add more fantasy to it to explain that, why would seem to be impossible, because it is the truth to his mind. And one of the main reasons I never tried that even is because one of the most obvious things that they then come up with is that I would be part of the group that is after him. If he was telling me as a friend, my downstairs neighbor has speakers mounted to the ceiling, and I would say, no, absolutely not the case, impossible. I just talked to him, and I went inside and I looked, and it is not there, etc. I just make up things now, but then the most likely result would be that he would think that I'm in on it, and I would lose him as a friend, and I would not be very helpful. I have to say that you also see that in the masses. If you look at the black and white segregation, is that the right word, of the politics at the moment, especially in America, you can say, you have the Republicans and the the Democrats. It's really black and white, the opposites that are totally against each other. But the same thing you have everywhere else in the world. But then more about certain, giving a certain topic. Then it's impossible, of course, that both parties are correct. One says, I'm absolutely convinced that, and the other one says, I'm absolutely convinced that it's not true. I'm certain of it. It's impossible that both are correct, but also both groups believe that they are right and the other is wrong. And there is almost no way to convince either side to change their mind. So it looks like pretty much like a mass psychosis to me. But okay, I think I'm going to stop the stream because clearly one is late and two I already stopped coding. Especially late, I don't like that. I should go to bed. Tomorrow I'll try to get up again at 8:45. I don't know how I would deal with it. I mean, I'm an extremely rational person. If ever I would be in a situation where I believe something that logic is telling me is not possible, then I would recognize it as such, I think. And I would tell myself, okay, you're having a psychosis right now. But on the other hand, I'm pretty much convinced that at the same time it means that you cannot change your belief. You just believe it is the truth. That must be really weird. Or maybe I already have that. Certain things, like, say, of course, I changed where I lived. I had certain ideas about the neighborhood. I didn't like it, so I wanted to move. I moved, and then I was absolutely 100% convinced of the improvement, the change of neighborhood, change of city. I liked everybody around me. I greeted them on the street. It was sunlight in my life. It was so beautiful. I was so euphoric almost. And over time, over a few years' time, that changed again. So it went from being super positive about all the people that live here to, they're not so nice and they just gossip and they probably don't like me. So I don't think that the people changed. So it's all in my mind. And the funny thing is that in the beginning I was 100% convinced that I didn't even close my doors. I didn't close my back door because nobody would steal anything. Only honest, good people that you can trust and that only want to help each other, it was beautiful. I was convinced about that. But now I'm no longer convinced about that they, are angels at all. I think they gossip and quite a lot of people don't like me, probably. And So I tell myself that I just was wrong in the beginning and now I'm right. I came to a certain insight. I learned new things and now I know the truth. But is that really true? I think I overshoot. I think I might think that certain people think negative or more negative about me than they really do. Maybe they don't think about me at all. Or they think, what a pathetic guy, or you feel for me, but I don't know. I think they think bad things, but maybe they only feel pity, say. Something like that. Something different. People suck definitely everywhere. I agree, but not all people. And sometimes it really amazes me. Like I'm walking outside here, and it's especially when I go to the forest. Then I pass through a neighborhood which is like the richest people's, the rich people neighborhood. And then I was just walking there, and then a girl of maybe 16, 18 comes biking from the opposite direction, and she just greets me. She says, like, yeah, good day, sir, something like that. And then from the expression in the face, I see she's happy and she really means it. Like she's, everyone we see here is a good human, and we like to greet each other and stuff like that. Especially, that such age difference. Where I lived in Amsterdam, no, that would not happen. Youth would not talk to old people, and certainly not greet them happily. So then I think, well, there's a proof that this neighborhood is nice, and they really care about everyone who lives there. But yeah, I don't know. I think I see that more in the super rich neighborhood than in my neighborhood, or more to another side where people are not that rich, no freestanding houses and stuff like that, which is rare in the Netherlands. You must almost be a millionaire, I think, before you can afford that. And well, I can have my rational side and thinks, yeah, what is now the reason? What is the reason? The rich people here so much happier because they have a nice house and a nice job and a good future and no worries, and that's why they are so happy that they see no evil in other people and they greet me. Or is it something else? And actually, the reason that I came up with is that I think that if I just been to the hairdresser and I wear nice clothes and I walk there, people assume that you live there, which means that I'm rich, which means that I know I have a good intellect. Like maybe I'm a doctor or a lawyer or something like that, so I can afford one of those houses. And that's the reason why they greet me. They don't greet me because they are happy. They greet me because they see me and think that I am a rich guy that owns one of these houses. But I don't know. It's all in my head. But yeah, on the other hand, I don't think it's the same as psychosis, because if anyone would tell me, that idea what you have there, it's not true, and I would immediately say, well, maybe you're right. I'm even saying it myself now, so I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was going to stop the stream, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, maybe. Well, let's hope that is the case, that the universe rewards positive attitudes, and that only good people will get rich. I'm laughing.